Welcome, I'm Bill Wake, and we're here to work on a Kilt calculator. We're working on calculating the pleat sizes. We've got all the calculations pretty well working as far as I know, but we want to report some error situations and just improve that aspect of it. And then I'd like to move into editing. I found a good article about editing custom objects and text fields. So we want to get back to our fractions because Kilt makers use the ones that use English measurements use fractions. All right. So we're going to start with an easy case. This is the notion of gap versus overlap. So let's see if I can run this. I don't know. I'm trying setting up the windows a little differently, and I think I'm not there. Yeah. So put this one there. Okay. All right. So let's take our traditional 20 and a set of 6. Okay, that gives us pleats 2, pleat width 2. All right, now if we took a slightly bigger pleat width, we'd have a small gap. Okay, well, too large gap is actually what we're talking about because it's more than half an inch. But at any rate, it's a gap. But if I took a slightly smaller one, 1.8, this gap is negative, and in which case it's not a gap, it's an overlap. And so the picture down here, these two bottom legs should really overlap each other by a third of an inch or 0.3 inches. All right. And so I mostly just want this label to change. I think it's, well, let's find, okay, Pleat Designer tests. Let's find one with a gap. Okay, that's a gap. Pleat count, pleat width. Okay. I'm going to make it part of that. Sets gap that. Okay, let's just also assert there's a label. The gap label should say gap. Okay. In this case, if we set it to 1.7, it should say minus, well, I got to find one that comes out even. 0.75. Okay, comes out to minus 375. Okay, that's better. Pleat width 1.7, whoops, 5. The gap comes to minus 0.375. And the gap label is going to be overlap, is what they call it. Okay, and then this is, I'll say get sets gap overlap. I think that's tolerable. All right, and so we need a field. Gap label, let's put it right after gap. Just near the bottom, okay. All right, so these two tests should now fail. Okay. Came back with something. Oh, this is not right. Oh, I will set pleat width to 1.75. And I'm not really interested in these two. Okay, let's make this fill the way we want it to first. Really? 125. Let's run it again. Oh, I got to set a 6. It's 5 there. It's 6 in my example. Okay. It only failed the one, and it failed for the right reason. Okay, so basically, if gap is greater than equal to 0, then we'll say gap, and otherwise we'll say overlap. Oh, well, yes. We'll spell it out a little more. Okay. All right. Well, let's run it. Make sure we're happy with that. Oh, well, no, we're not happy because I'm not using it in my view yet. Let's see. So it comes in down at gap. Okay, this is going to be designer.gap label. And well, it's a little trickier than I thought. Okay, so pleats 26, 1.75 overlap. That's good, but the negative there is a problem. I'm tempted to gosh, it'd be nice to have it would be nice to have functions that worked on nil and applied a function otherwise. I don't know. We have anything like that? Okay. Yeah, that's the question. The negative sign really should be gone if it says overlap. And it really is. Well, maybe I'll just put a new, I don't know. It's like, where does that belong? Maybe, could it belong? Does it belong on the object? Somebody's got to take the absolute value. Is it a domain problem or a view problem? I guess that's what it comes down to. Yeah. Well, okay, let me. Gap overlap and pleat count. You know, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna introduce a new type, a new value, absolute gap, that is always that. And this, we can check both. And let's check both here. All right. Should still be a double question mark, I guess. Well, I'm jumping a little ahead, but I'll live with it. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's wrong. That should be cap. Okay. Let's put that in our view. Gap should be absolute gap. Only two places we mention it. All right, let's check it out. Okay, yeah, defaults to gap. That's fine. 26, 5, overlap 375. Yes. 2.25. Gap 375. So it's always non-negative. All right. Well, I think we've done that. Not totally happy, but yeah, does it deserve a formatter? Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, but I'm moving on. All right. Now, error situations. So one possibility is, like, we've got a 6-inch set, and we say, let's make a 8-inch pleat. All right. Now, too large gap is a little bit of an exaggeration because you've only got 6 inches of fabric. And you're saying, I'm going to make that into an 8-inch pleat. Nah, it's not going to work. So that should be an error on that item. Now maybe, I'm not quite sure. Well, how am I going to do this? Is it ever? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, minus 20 hip gives you minus 10 pleats. So yeah, I think we don't really want that pleats or pleat width. Yeah. So any of these variables, none of them should be entered as negatives. If the gap is greater than the pleat, well, excuse me, I don't think that can happen if we restrict the other stuff. Or actually, I don't think this is even a problem. Okay, so let's say we made a 1-inch pleat. Oh, let's make this positive. A 1-inch pleat. Okay. The overlap is 1.5 inches. That's not a problem because the military pleat shoves it all to one side. Okay. Negative values, though. Okay, can I get anything funny? Well, non-integral pleat count. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to put a border on it if this variable is has any problems. And well, I think I'd like to put a border on the item, and I'd like to have a little text underneath it that says, no negative values. I don't think I can prevent it. So the simulator doesn't show, but I've got this set up for decimal keypad, which does allow entering negatives. And also, you theoretically can't stop anybody because they could cut and paste and stuff like that. So unless you really want to make it painful, you have to account for that stuff. So I think I don't think it's not hard to change the view, right? I mean, we can just set a border on or off for any problem. I guess my alternatives are one is, I think I can put the border on the individual item, no problem. If I add queries that ask me about the validity of the hip measurement. Now, and maybe, okay, so you could put that in. Can you put little text underneath here easily? I'm not sure. Or could you put the message up in a little message area up here, maybe? I think so. I don't know if you would need to accumulate all the messages, like if you had negative hip and negative sett. Or a sett. I don't know. You can imagine other things like, I mean, 100-inch waist or 100 inches hip to hip. That's 8 feet, right? So nobody's got a hip that big. I mean, even a very large person, I just can't imagine. I can imagine 8 feet around, but 8 feet, 16 feet around just seems like a bit much. There's some value that makes it, extremely unlikely. Okay. A 5-inch, I guess, maybe. I don't see how. We've got a brand new baby around here, and I don't think her hips are that small. Now, maybe they are. Hard to judge, and she's a big baby for her age, but I don't think you're going to make a 4-inch kilt, or 8-inch kilt. Yeah, I mean that's almost that. I don't know how much we have to have to be alert to that. But yeah, so it kind of comes, I think if you're going to mark a particular field, we're going to have a flag or a something, a flag or a message for each field. That, yeah, that may be awkward. I don't know. I guess it's the variables you can set, which are these five. So each one will come back with a message that's either empty or non-empty, maybe. If the message is empty, then there's no visible error. And if it's non-empty, it's it's got a problem. I mean, that would be one thing. The other one is I can sort of see, well, some things are suspicious, but not necessarily wrong. Okay, so yeah, like the weird hip sizes. I mean, 40 inches across, that's an 80-inch waist. That's pretty big. I guess you're not going to do that with 10 yards of fabric. Um, yeah, yeah, an error message below the label would be the best thing. All right, let's try and get that. So I want to. Well, the other thing is, okay, if there are multiple things wrong, well, no, I think the other thing is some things are warnings, some things are errors. I I don't know if we want to enforce that distinction really. I mean, non-integral pleats, that's a problem. You can't do 6.5 pleats normally. Or if you could, I mean, it doesn't stop you from figuring out stuff. Maybe you might have some circumstance. I know they get weird situations, right? And somebody's just the wrong size for, the tartan they've got or whatever it is, and maybe you would find a way to cut a pleat short or something. I don't know. But it'd be very, very unusual. They normally explore a bunch of scenarios and then decide which one to keep. Okay. So I guess what I want to say is hip to hip rear. What's the restriction? Well, non-negative. Okay. Pleat width greater than or equal to pleat fabric. Um, so that's very much impossible. Negative values, non-integral. Okay, let's just take hip to hip. The only thing that can happen wrong there is a negative value. I just wonder from a design point of view. Let me bring up this thing again. Pleat designer. Whoops, this one. I mean, like we've got three fields to cover the gap. I don't know how it chooses the order here. Hip. Yeah. I don't know. Another field for each thing. Something that's saying, what's wrong with this hip size? All right, let's do it. Yeah, that's the normal situation. Like the piece we haven't done yet is apron pleat calculations. So you take their whole waist and like you almost always, like say it's 44 and a half. You almost always put the half on the apron side, partly because your stomach tends to be, at least in middle-aged guys that buy kilts, or middle-aged women that buy kilts, the stomach tends to be a little bigger than the rear. So you're probably going to didn't, split it more towards the apron anyway. And yeah, if you came up with half a pleat, you would probably just put the extra inch on the front and go on with your day, change your hip measurement. But usually, I mean, so usually you're exploring what can I do with the hip measurement I've got, but you probably wouldn't choose 20 and a quarter or 20 and a half or anything like that to try with, you as a quick kilt maker would know that, that would not be a good balance. Okay. But there are situations I know they worry about, if your waist is narrower than your hips, that's kind of a good thing. If they're about the same, like me, it's not so handy. And if it's the other way, it's a problem because you really prefer this kind of shape. So they've got their tricks. Okay, let's see. So I guess the test is going to be, let's see. This is Funk test. Negative hips is error. All right, and we just need a designer. All right, hip to hip equals 20, minus 20, and designer dot hip message. Hip error should be I don't know, I may have to tighten up the language a little. Yeah, would it be better to shrink away the front? Yeah, you might have to play around with it a bit. Yeah, so I mean, my wife's teaching a class in this next week, so I'm paying attention as she prepares stuff. And there's definitely, I think they're allowing an hour or two to run through all these scenarios that you might have for a given waist size, and how much do you want to put in the front or the back? How much, given that you've got that, how big can you make your pleats? What if you went up a pleat? What if you went down a pleat? I think I got to check on this rule, but I think pleats, I think they tend to like an odd number of pleats. I don't know if that's just for the box pleat to the stripe, or if that's more general. But I think, it's so the middle stripe is straight down your middle of your back and not a little off center from it. But I got to check that one. But I think pulling these out explicitly is going to make that possible. Okay, where's hip? All right. And this is computed, so bar hip error is string, and it's going to be something. All right, that should pass the test. Let's just take, yeah, let's make this test pass first. Oh, I did something offline last night. This messages, I just pulled those into one of our EG tests, so it more simple test cases, and go from there. I might do the same thing here in a moment. Okay, it came back something. Well, let's say, let's get the other test, the flip side of the test in. So I will make this, let's test error. Well, maybe it's hip error message. All right, let's do this. Don't normally put two tests in, but I think it will help clarify. If it's positive, it's not. Not there. Hip measure can't be negative if it's negative. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's worth an EG test. Well, yeah, I don't know. All right, but that says if hip what do we do now if you don't have required stuff? Let me make another one. Okay, now I'm going to convince myself it is time for one of these. All right, so we're going to check, and it's an example. The input is 20. We expect empty string. If the input is minus 20, we expect this string. And if it's nil, we expect hip measure is required. Okay, and then in our case, we're going to do this. And we'll do our EG. Assert equal and that. Okay, if I left this in, yeah. Okay, expect hip measure is required. Expect this, expect that. And this is $0. And this is $0. Okay, this should fail all three. Okay. All right. If hip to hip measure is nil, return hip measure is required. Else, if hip to hip measure is less than 0, return something else, and otherwise return empty string. Okay, and that is this. Okay. Now, okay, let's get it passing, then I'll talk. Good. All right. I guess what I'm wondering, I don't know. In a way, see, we're starting to get pieces that make me wonder if this object should be split up. In a way, this one is sort of a separate level from the other. Yeah, right, on the fractions. But anyway, this is sort of looking at the values and deciding if they're right. And same thing for this hip error thing. It's kind of doing that too. And all these are going to do that. I just wonder, gap label, I kind of feel like it's wanting to split apart, that I'm thinking of it as Pleat constraints. That is all the stuff we did up till now, and that the Pleat designer, or I don't know if it's a Pleat analyzer or a Pleat designer or something, but I want something to give me the answers based on those. and I will just delegate the values through to the children. I think we'll do that. Now, needs required values, that's used in our tests. I mean, in our code. So that's got to come with it. Yeah, I mean, because I think maintaining all these relationships is a pretty good sized job. I mean, that was our whole object yesterday, up till the very end where we added message, and these other things, they're just adding on and on. So yeah, they're kind of a validator. I don't know. I'm kind of willing to let the Pleat designer pass through all the simple ones and then validate, or provide the analytical piece of the message and the overlap gap thing and the absolute gap and all that stuff. Like that's not the constraints problem. So I think this is like Pleat variables, Pleat constraint. Yeah, maybe it's Pleat constraint. So let me extract that class. All right, but we are, make sure we're really green. Oh, what's your problem? Okay. Add check for hip errors, hip size errors. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's only for display. All right, so back here, pleats. So we're doing an extract class kind of thing. I may take some shortcuts. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take everything in here. I think I'll leave our tests up at the Pleat designer level and let this thing manage it. Well, foundation is because it's observable, but I don't think. Now maybe I'm making more trouble for myself. Only for display for now. Good point. All right. Pleat constraint. The problem is, how does Pleat designer find out about these changes? I mean, theoretically, I'm not sure the best way here. I mean, one thing is when somebody sets them, right? When somebody, let's get to one that's settable, right? So we call did set on hip. Like when they change that value, this thing should kick in. And if we provide get and set methods, we can't be published. All right, let me try a different way. That wasn't much extracting. All right. I think maybe like you were saying, a validator. Maybe that's the thing that can do it. I mean, I'm going to have to pass something to the validator. And I guess who owns it, right? Yeah, boy, this thing of notifications and just have methods you can call with the properties that need to be verified. Yeah. So you're suggesting I'd create a separate object that, like have a method that says validate hip measurement, then it applies that rule we just did about negatives. Or maybe we just need one that checks negatives and value positive. Yeah. Right. Yeah, maybe something like that. Okay, so let's extract it here. I guess that's more of a, well, I think what you do really, like the tendency is to put stuff in an enum. Yeah. Okay. So Pleat validator, I mean, it's got to know, basically that's based on the gap, right? So I don't know, maybe it's just a static. Okay, so I guess what we're saying is do all this stuff. Sorry, let me get rid of that message. Okay, I think that's all right. I think why I see this used this way is like you can't ever create an instance of an enum if there's no cases, so it's a natural place to attach statics. I don't know if that's wimpy or not. All right. Now this. All right. Dot. I think we could probably. Required positive. And you give me hip to hip measure and its name. Okay. Yeah. All right. That should pass the test so far. Message tests and others. And we're not checking the validator directly, but I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, if it's acting correctly on everything in Pleat Designer, it seems like it's, I'm not really too worried about it otherwise. But we could. Oh. Oops, sorry. Do you see him? I think we're okay. All right. Well, I think we could go through and add the other validations, but I think I want to just get this one checked first. Okay. So field. Wasn't that? Hip error. I'm going to make these empty for the moment. Okay. All right, so this field is not doing anything with message, so that should be neutral. Okay. So let's see if this preview will do it. Okay. Now we're not yet putting the message out there, but we're circling suspicious values, which seems like progress. I don't know if that's. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's try 8. And this is nice when it works. And then if we enter something, Okay, I think that's progress. So stage one, we're going to make sure these things mark when they're not valid. Yeah, I think that's all right. Okay, so next one, I guess set error. Set. That's a little faster. And why is that? Oh. Okay. Maybe this deserves a test. Hip error message. And thank you. Pleats. What do we call that stupid field? Sets per plate. Well, okay. Set. Why is that one complaining and this one didn't? Fleet designer. Well, okay, that part I understand. Okay, sets per fleet. I'm not actually testing positive. Let's make sure that gets in there. All right, so this should fail. Sets per pleat. Sets per pleat. Okay, and this is designer.sets per pleat error. I guess I should change it and then copy it. Okay, these will fail because I changed the message and I don't check positive. Okay, value name less than or equal to 0. Which one? Set must be positive. Positive. Did you have a less than or equal to function? No. Yeah, I only have cert equal in there. I can't remember if I have an assert true. I might have that. All right. Let's get to do. Error situations. Okay, well, we're doing this one now. Let's do pleats and pleat widths. Now, they're not required, so... So if it's not required, I'm going to say that should just be an empty. This is really pleat width must be positive. I suppose I should say width, I'm not sure. Can I convert that double type string? Okay. So these values are just, well, we certainly want it to be positive. Okay. I'm going to say optional and positive. And we'll probably need the same. Got the value and the name. Oh, that's just a, yeah, okay. Build failed. Optional positive. Optional positive. It finds it when it navigates to it. Optional positive. Value, name. Well, I could do this. If that's what's throwing it off, I don't know why it would. Pleat designer. Has no member, optional positive. Oh. No, we can just pass that directly. Optional positive. Did I say the wrong thing? Pleat. No. Try that. Should fail. Yeah. I'm going to get the beep thing turned on for my messages because I keep missing. You're about 5 beats ahead of me. Okay. Everything's wrong. Good. Well, 0 plate width must be positive. Yes, I expect that. And value is nil or greater than 0. Expect 0. Empty. Empty. Pleat with error. Am I not calling it? I am. Pleat validator dot optional positive. If value is nil, return empty. If its value is greater than 0, return empty. Otherwise, return name must be positive. I don't have a true there anymore. I guess I can stop in. Seems weird. Oh, how about you set the field we're after here? Okay. And okay, now same deal, except it's a Pleat count. Pleat count. Convalidate set of common enum has errors. Yeah, I mean, we theoretically could at some point. We could make this have cases. I think they all. Yeah, I mean, I think they're all going to be an error case. So there's not really like on the other side of it, right? You have to do let case and or case statement or something. So yeah, if you want to stop calculation when there's an error. We'll have to see. I think we mostly prevent it. Well, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I care. Because I think it's enough to put a warning in that a value is suspicious, and that I want to get the error messages in, but I think it could be suspicious but still correct. So it feels like, well, I don't want to block them from doing it because it's I don't want. I guess I would say it's kind of a fuzzy domain in a way. Like it's a human domain, maybe is another way to say it, right? That the human will make adjustments and will sometimes do things that seem weird and all that stuff. And I think if we preserve the mathematics, they can judge like, oh, okay, fine, that really is. I mean, some of them are impossible, and there's you might find it might be nice to avoid those, but I think a lot of the times it's possible, but maybe not ideal or something, and like you were saying, maybe adjust half an inch to the front somewhere just to make things come out even or something like that. So I'm thinking highlighting the issue and then eventually getting the error message in there, or warning message, maybe better to say it, would probably be enough. I don't think it'll prevent all the nil checks and all that stuff that we're doing in the designer. So I'm not. I don't know. It could be. Yeah, I just don't know. It's a little tricky. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine why a negative pleat width would be meaningful. I Yeah, I just really can't. I mean, it would be like backwards, right? Or something. So I don't know. I think a real user is unlikely to enter a negative number ever. It's just kind of the mathematics of having it be a double that let that be a feasible thing. Okay, so let's see. Where are we all? Okay, is this passing now? Okay, so I think we've done all the must be positive errors. Let's see. So ensure pleat width and count are positive. All right. Tell you what, let's take a break. We still have rules that we want to enforce, or at least warn about, and then we want to display the message as well as use it to trigger the red. But I think we can do that after the break. All right, so 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll come back and tackle that. Welcome back. All right. I think before we go on to this, I'd like to refactor a slight bit. Notice this, like there's something similar going on in both these. And in this case, I've folded together the required attribute with the positive attribute, and required or optional. And what I'd like to try, I mentioned something about functional before, but I knew if I understood monads, I would know what to do here. But what I think I'd like to do is I'd like to have a function that if you give it a string and another string, and if the first string is non-empty, it uses that. Otherwise, it takes the second string. And so I think we can break up these characteristics using that. So it's or, and it takes another string, and it returns a string. Okay. So if the string, well, let's say if it's not is empty, we'll return self. Otherwise, we'll return other. Okay. And so if I can use this, then if required, I could make a separate required check. Required takes a value double and a name string, and if the value is nil, well, we'll just do this. Otherwise, we'll return this. And I know there's a functional way to do this. Required name cannot find name. Oh, name and scope. Okay, so unexpected non. Okay, so required is going to say if the value is null, return the name is required. Otherwise, it returns empty. Okay, and so I think I can rewrite this. Well, let's make a function positive. Positive. If the value is nil, return empty. How do I want to do this? Maybe I can't do this. I'm so positive. It's not currying. Like currying is going, if you take a function of 2 arguments and you turn it into a function that is a function of 1 argument. And I don't think that's what I'm doing. I mean, my hope is, maybe I need an and as much as I need an or. Actually, I think that's what I want. And okay, if the self is empty, no. Let me see. All right, let me keep going on this. Okay, if the value is nil, I don't know what I want to do. Okay, I guess. Well, I know if value is greater than 0, I'm going to return empty string. Otherwise, I'm going to return name must be positive. Okay. But is it an error if it's nil? Okay. I don't think. Okay. Let's see. So that's sort of this case. Okay, so maybe I am just repeating this one. If value is nil or value is greater than 0, it's empty. Okay, so now what if I do my or here? If I say well, it's a little awkward. Required value. Oh man, is that a reserved word? Value and name, or positive value name. Okay, I guess I could just try it, and if that works, I can be all happy. Or is maybe not the right word for this. If okay, we checked all the cases. Well, we checked 4 cases with nil, 0, negative, and positive. Okay, so if so is this an and? Maybe it's an and, because if it's empty, let's see. Yeah. If it's empty, it returns the second value. So that's an or, A or B. If A is false, returns B. But this is really a nor, is kind of what we want. Flip the test positive, value greater than, less than or equal to 0. Yeah. So required, if it's there, naming is tricky, but I like where we're going. Okay, I like this much. And optional positive maybe is sort of implicit. I don't need optional positive. I can just say it's positive because it's willing to let nils go through. But in this case, not that. Okay, so if this is required, it's almost like and then or and positive. And if it slips through both, the reason it's weird is because my values are backwards, right? Normally, well, empty is 0. Let's say empty is 0 or empty is false and error is true. Okay, so then or is the right word. Okay, so I think optional positive should be positive. And that's the same code, right? Value equals nil or value is greater than 0. It's okay. All right, so let's take out this one and we'll get there with a rename, make it a little easier on ourselves. Okay. And I almost think this should be inlined. Yeah, I'm going back and forth on this naming. Okay, so hip error is, let's inline that. It's a little more awkward. Positive. Oh, well, this is hip to hip. Well, where's hip? Sorry. Hip is up here. Required positive. See, I think this is really an and. I think it's just that the logic of it feels backwards. Yeah, optional could just return optional positive. Yeah, it might make it clear. I hate having to repeat the stuff. This is a this is a thing, right? We're passing this value name combination all the time. Gosh, I think this is really and because we're requiring value name to be true and meaning non-empty and the other. So I'm going to say it's an and. It just feels backwards because the non-empty is true or something. So if it's empty, I guess empty is true. That's why it feels funny. Okay, because this reads right. It's required and it's positive. Like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why it sounds funny. But like, I got to go to this, right? We're requiring it, and and it's required to be positive. So those two things. Right. See, I think if this not weren't here, it would be more like an or. Okay. So if not empty, that's true. Okay. And it's just like the Boolean logic, right? If it's true, you return the second. If A or B is true, then and A is true, then you just return B. So we're returning other. If A or B is false, then it's false. And our equivalent of false is it's if not empty, return it. That's true. If it is empty, we succeeded on the first one, return the second one. Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah. But I think because we're negating inside here, and the condition feels backwards. But that's why it's local. I don't know. Let's make it file private even because it's nothing I want out there. All right. Public modifier conflicts with default extension. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so that's still build. No extension. Oh, that's a. Okay, can I put it here? We went through this round before. Is it going to complain it wants it on the extension instead of this? No? Okay. And back to the optionality. I don't know if I need to make that. I mean, if it's not required, it's not mentioned. I don't think that doesn't bother me. All right. Let's see. So we refactored constraint calculations to use and on string. Okay, so if either one is non-empty, it returns the failure. So if either one is false, then it's false. So that's good. All right, now where are we? Whoops. All right, so a pleat width greater than set times set dot pleat. Okay. Yeah, so I guess this is, oh man. Okay, this is really its own thing. Okay, so we're going to give it the pleat width, we're going to give it this, and it'll do the nil checks and then confirm. Okay, so I think we'll call this a less than. Let's design a test. Well, actually, this one would be better copy. Okay, so pleat width, too big. Okay, so I'm going to move that in. I don't see. Oops. It just makes it hard to read when it's up there. Okay, so pleat width too big. Okay, so this one I think we'll need. We'll need a pair of things. No. Nil and let's say 10. Okay. If the I think we just dollar input dot zero. Okay. How do I give it a contextual type? Double dot nil? Oh, maybe when I get them all done, it'll. Is that enough to help? Yeah, good. All right. So what we need is the fabric width we want. All right. So if the pleat width is this, and let's set the what do we call it? Well, it's pleat fabric at this point, but that's a derived value, so we're going to have to set the we'll use sets per pleat of 1 and set of the size, I guess. Okay, that's input 1. Okay, so we're going to set the width to this value and the size effectively to this value, and we want to check that we get the right message on pleat width error. Okay, so if it's nil, then it's not too big. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, and then same thing on the other side. If this is a value, well, even 2, and this one's nil, right? So if either one is nil, oh, come on. You're not ambiguous. If this is double, like, okay, let's make sure this is. I don't know if the ints sometimes get confused. When you're doing generics, they. Now why? Let's see. Are you still confused? Type of expression is ambiguous. Okay, let's pull them out. Okay. Oh man. Cannot convert by AG of something double string to expected element double double. I don't see the problem because the first element it always is double question mark. Oops, this is double question mark. I have to find this message. I don't know how to. E.g., if something double string to element. No, that's not true. You can convert nil to double question mark. You need to specify the placeholder type element as an optional, right? Oh, the non-sugared none form. That's the one I want. Optional double dot none. Optional of double dot none. Oh, this is e.g. of double double, right? Is that e.g. is the type, input output, output is string. Okay, I've not had to do this before. I know I've never used this syntax. Awkward, but okay. All right, so if the first argument is nil, now what that makes me wonder is if I could put this back. I cannot. Okay. All right. All right. If the first argument is nil, then it's not a problem. If second argument is nil, the fabric width will be nil and it's not a problem. Now we want to get the cases where if 10.0, well, let's do 9.9 and the thing is 10. Well, it's a lousy pleat, but it should be legal. If we're 0, that's not a good. I don't think we have to worry about that case. We have to worry about the case where we're greater or equal to this. Okay, and this is smaller than set times sets per pleat. It's a long message. I don't know if I should get the third argument in there for sets per pleat. You can't have a width without a set. Well, that's a good point. That really is a can't happen, isn't it? Okay. So, oh, well, that worked before. Let's make sure that builds. Let's try this. No. I thought this worked at one point. Let's check. Okay. All right, because there's only one nil, it doesn't get as confused, I guess. All right, pleat width. All right. Taking too long. Should be easier. Good. Okay. Next, pleat designer. The validation is required positive. Well, I'm gonna put this one up a little. Required positive. Okay. Okay. I guess we want positive, I don't know, these combos. Well, it's really the same. Okay. Pleat width, and then here we can use pleat fabric. Do I need the two names? I guess I do. Okay, should fail. Good point. Okay. Should still fail. Oh, that warning is not correct. Let's return. Because if I delete this, it's going to complain with a hard error, I think. Yeah. Well, not a hard error, but wrong. Okay, should pass. Well, I think I capitalized something. Oh, I changed the message. Too large. empty. Pleat width, pleat width. Positive smaller, pleat width, pleat fabric. All right, let's. Oh, backwards order. $10. Okay. Pleat fabric is nil. Set times. Well, it should default to 1. I'm pretty sure we defaulted. Maybe we don't. Yeah, we do. And it is that value, right? So, wait a minute. So we got the set is 10. The sets per pleat is 1. And where's that pleat fabric? If needs require. Oh, okay. This is where. Okay. All right. So because we require all our required fields to be present to calculate these things, this is that. It's a consequence of a decision from yesterday where I said, okay, well, we'll just require it always, rather than do fine-grained requirements on it. I think I'll still live with that. If I have to write one extra line in a test, I can definitely live with it. Okay. All right. All right. Now, the final case is a pleat count. Okay, what are we checking this time? The pleat count. We'll move this down. Okay, so this case is nil, we expect no message. 20, we expect no message, but 20.00001. I'm not sure the best way to phrase this one, but must not have a fraction. No, it depends. I mean, maximum count. I mean, it's a function of the pleat width, right? The pleat width and the measure. I mean, a 1-inch pleat is pretty small, but I mean, it could be 3/4 pleat, 3/4 inch pleat. I mean, maybe in some a child's one or something, could it be 3/4 and then it'd be 1.25? I mean, invert or 1.33, whatever. It'd be bigger than the hip count. I mean, it would be unusual. This is one of those that might be worth a little message, but I think in real cases, like normally you set out and you say, well, I'm gonna have about 10 pleats, or maybe you have, oh, I'm gonna have about 20 pleats or something. You're making a choice, and you would not try and do 40 pleats. It would tell you your pleats are gonna be 1/2 inch, and then there are 3 layers of wool fabric, right? So it's just not going to be something you could sew that way. So I don't think it's too bad. What goes on here? That's that. Okay. Is there still a message? Oh, it's the warnings. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I think plus count must, I don't know. Be a whole number. Must not have fractions. I'm trying to think of the words. Whole number sounds like a mathematician word or phrase. Not have a fraction. I think I can live with that. Maybe a little long when we get to the displaying part. All right. Here. And I'm not keeping up with to do here. Okay. Center tests. At least that's okay. Pleat count error. Well, let's give it one that's positive integer. Okay. Rename this one. Okay, and right now it's positive value one name. Okay. No, it's not. Oh, well, yes, it is. Okay. Return string. Right. That should fail the same way. And integral value one name. I guess value will suffice. Steal my message. Oh, there's a... I think there's a double function for this. We called it in the last month. Random. Is it remainder divided by cell? There was an abbreviated form of this. We used that one. It's not a bit pattern. Come on, tell me the possibilities. There we go. Negative one, negative stuff. Well, I don't see fraction on there. A mirror that reflects the tones. Yeah, there's a function that I'm pretty sure if it's on double that does this. That's what I was going to do if I couldn't figure it out. Double %1 int exactly. That's not unreasonable. Right. That's kind of what I was going to do. Yeah. I know there's... Where would we have used that? It must have been in the formatter, yeah. Okay, let's find value formatter. Mod F. That's it, I think. Yeah, whole part fraction equals mod F. Okay. Let's get back here. Well, let's make an extension here. think I can do a computed var. Is 0 divided? No. No. What's the matter? Was that my text? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, that's all right. Delete that and it gets marked. Okay, 1, 6, 20. All right, now if we do a fleet width of 1.5, whoa, something's wrong. We don't display our new properties. Okay, let's check that. Number of pleats, field. Plate count error and plate width error. Well, let's do 20, that's an error. 6.2 is an error. 2.1. Right. Okay, I'm not happy about the formatting of these, but we're going to come back to that. The other thing I'm a little worried about, I think there's a way to get something that's like number of pleats is equal to 19.999999996 or something like that. And it just doesn't make sense to be that picky. Same thing, I saw something weird. I'm trying to get a third in there. Let's see if we have a 9-inch pleat. Now, something's weird. Oh, right, it doesn't come out to 20. It could come out to 21. Okay, 7 pleats. something like that. I'm not sure where this would come out. Oh, let's do 20 and 7. That's a little weird. But that's kind of what we're stuck with, because with 20 relative to 7 pleats, you're going to have some weird fraction going on regardless. I guess if it were maybe a multiple of that. Five. Right. That's. We may not even want to show this on military box pleat. I was kind of going around and around with my wife on that one. Like, what are you going to show? I mean, we haven't got the drawing yet, so that's another problem. But okay, I think this is pretty good. The only weird thing is, but maybe this is not the weird thing. Maybe this is just the way it is. If you say I want a 2.5 inch, I can only do that with a military box pleat. If I want 2.1 inch, well, I don't get my fraction, and I got an overlap that's too high, so it's box pleat, military. I almost think in this form, without showing the messages, I think it would still satisfy the need. Well, all right, 318. I think let's. Well, this is green. Okay, we still got some going there. Okay. Those two are true. Okay, it's kind of priorities here. Non-integral pleat count. I guess that was there, goes down here. Okay, error situations. I guess what we want now is show message when error string non-empty. And I'm going to just try that real quickly here, I guess. Where's Pleat view? That's in field. Fields have this. All right, let's make this a VStack. Okay, make sure. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay. And then this, I think, even though there's a little performance hit for this, if it's empty, I guess if it's not empty, for using an if in your view code, it has to regenerate something, but we have 10 elements on the screen or something. It's just not that many, so I'm not going to worry about it. But let's put a text with message in a font of, I don't know, footnote, and a foreground color of red. Okay. Yeah, it will. It'll be different if we use eighths and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of them will show up as, 2.0 minus or something like that, where they're close, and it'll say it's not integral, but it's less than a 16th of an inch or a 32nd of an inch. Do you need to convert them to decimal in did set? I don't think so. What I saw for the let's see if I can find that article. I had it up here. This one. Somebody's written up a nice article on parsing format styles for formatters, and you can provide your own parser and your own string formatter for it. So I think if we do those, then we might get some values that look like they're non-integral, but they get marked like it's not exactly perfect. But I think, a Kilt maker that said, I've got 11.99 pleats, I'm going to call it 12, and we'll just make it work. It would fall out. There might be a tiny bit of overlap or a tiny gap, but 0.04 of an inch across 2.5 feet of fabric is just not enough to matter. Okay. That's an interesting opinion there. All right. Okay, true. We aren't programming C. Yeah, that's all right. I wouldn't have centered it, but it actually kind of makes sense. All right, so now let's make this weird. Okay. Those two come out. 2.5, right? We could imagine, I don't know. I guess the gap sort of a small overlap becomes a military box pleat, and it becomes a small overlap back to 0, back to a gap, back to full width with no gap. And we catch anything that's too big. I think we did, right? Yeah, pleat width too large and negative. Right. Yeah, I'm very happy for that part. Took 5 minutes. The whole rest of it was, all afternoon here. Okay. Make sure we're good here. All right, so show error messages for fields with problems. We don't have anything that's sort of global. Everything is a problem because a field is a problem, and I'm happy with that. All right, now show message when the string is not empty. Okay, that's how things are supposed to be. 5 minutes and you get it. All right, editing fractions. I do think that's where I'd like to pick up tomorrow. Can we get fractions is kind of the same thing. We need to recompute our picture, and at some point I'd like to be able to save scenarios. I don't know if that may be less critical than getting the next kind of big feature started. Round to at most 3 digits. I think that goes away with fractions. Okay. Yeah. We will then pick up there. So I've got that nice article. I'll try and give it a real good read so I know what I'm doing. With that in place, I think we can do that tomorrow, and then maybe start working on the form. Do we want to have a different picture for each possibility, or can we make a picture that kind of smoothly moves from one possibility to the other? That would be ideal, because then you can animate them and they would change as the thing changed. So I don't know what the right answer is, but we'll see. If it's not too hard, it'd be nice to do that. All right. So tomorrow, 2 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, or 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. Thank you for joining today, Mudshark666. I always appreciate all the feedback and ideas you have. Even when I'm too slow to take them, they're helpful eventually. All right. Have a good night, and hopefully I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.